Welcome back to the Industrial Insights podcast. I have Chris O'Brien with Octane, and Chris and I were commiserating that we work with a lot of the same types of companies, and I love finding people that are dialed into our space with both like a CPG and just general businesses that are vertically integrated, all the way to the outsourced companies that have aligned with 3PLs. And so Chris's company, Auctane, is in a unique space to help people grow. And so I'm thankful for you to be here and excited to spend time with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm definitely excited to be here.
So, what does Octane do exactly? Because it's funny, the brands, there's many, and then the value add, there are many. So maybe you can help us all understand the umbrella and then the different pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Auctane is the parent company of 10 brands. It started off as stamps.com a long time ago in the 90s. I think that's a brand that a lot of people are familiar
Selling
with.
stamps.
Selling stamps, literally just selling stamps and postage discounts. You still hear them, I believe, on podcasts as a supporter of a lot of them. I heard them on Mark Maron when I started listening to podcasts a long time ago. So they started off that way and eventually acquired more brands like Indicia, which is a longtime brand of people who are shipping small parcel and also letters and things like that. Nation came around in, I believe, around 2012, 2011. That's probably the flagship brand of Octane, one of the biggest ones that people are familiar with. ShipStation has over 1 million customers. And then there's also ShipStation API, which is an API first branding of ShipStation, and that's more for developers. And then there's a few other brands that are under that umbrella too, like ShipWorks and Shipping Easy, et cetera. For my
We're
purposes,
in the
I'm
shipping
really
business.
focused on we're exactly. We're in the shipping business, right? So I'm focused on ShipStation, ShipStation API, and then of course there's a company called Metapack that we also run, which is a tier one brand that operates for some of the largest sellers in 3PLs in the country and in North America and also in Europe.
Yeah, that's a
But as
lot.
far as it's quite a few. I know it's a lot to sort of like relay back, but they're all shipping softwares of different magnitudes and different sizes and for different applications.
Yeah. The one-liner was sits at the intersection of shipping software, carrier connectivity, customer delivery experience at massive volume. It is interesting to see the volumes. Like you guys push a lot of volume or like participate in it. So I got to imagine there's a ton of insight that comes from that and experience. And I'm excited to dig into some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're touching billions of pieces of a shipping piece. So yeah, every year. It's amazing.
Enough about Octane. How about Chris? So you got out of college, Michigan State, and some supply chain, which I'm doing the University of Arkansas supply chain program now. I'm just about to complete it in May.
Nice.
So Michigan's that's a top dog for that industry, I feel like. And then you started at CH. I gotta imagine that was a great first place to get grounded and like get your bearings and get a lot of experience. What was your CH experience about? Like, how would you describe what like a trajectory or like what your major like a learning was coming through there?
It's funny. I didn't know a ton about supply chain when I was coming right out of school. I got a marketing degree within the business college, and I was interviewing at a lot of places. I wanted to move to Chicago, and I got the interview, and I ended up getting the job with C.H. Robinson. But part of the interview process was to go on site. They picked you up in a town car, and all of this. When you were there, they would put you on the desk with someone, and this was like a very like high octane sort of environment at CH Robinson when I first started there.
Okay.
A lot of people on phones and headsets and booking loads and things of that nature. And there was a lot of money sort of flying around there, and it was very exciting for someone like I think myself, kind of coming out of school. And I specifically remember there being a commission check on someone's desk for like $10,000. And I was just sort of sitting with them. And when I was 23, coming out of school, I had about $300 to my name. And to see a $10,000 commission check on someone's desk, I was like very intrigued by that.
You better
So
pick that up. Don't just leave it laying around the desk.
yeah, I think that might have been on purpose, right? To sort of entice some of the recruits who were coming through. No, I mean, beyond just the money that you could make there, it was a tremendous opportunity back then. We learned a lot about just how logistics works from the truckload perspective. and, domestic and LTL and all of those things. Like, so many pieces that I was unaware of just how much freight was moving through the country and how it happened, right? Like you'd see the trucks on the road, like all of us do. When I was a kid, my dad, when he wanted to put me to sleep in the car, would ask me to count the truck headlights that would come from the other side of the highway if I was being too annoyed or something like that. So now being like in a role where I'm actually at work and doing these sorts of things, we're on the phone trying to basically like make a margin in between, what the load costs us to move and how much we're getting from a customer to actually haul that freight. So that's kind of like how CH Robinson makes money for the most part in their North American surface transportation unit, which I believe is still like 85% of their business. And since then, you've seen tons of players come in and replicate that, right? And I think Robinson is still like number one or number two. I think XPO and a few of these others are still up there. But that's really how I cut my teeth in sales and transportation and logistics, and just learned a ton being there for as long as I did. And it's a fantastic experience. I met so many people, really learned how business works in a lot of different ways. It's kind of a no holds barred place to work and in industry. And I think it gives you a lot of real life skills coming in there.
Yeah. I would say maybe it's coming back from the dark side if you then go to like a company that then is like serving customers, or like if you go to work for like the customer themselves, right? Rather than being like an outsourced partner. So it's like, it's funny to take your perspective from there and then think through like, what does that mean now here? And when you talk with customers and like knowing who they are dealing with, or like what things they might be encountering, to be able to like walk a mile in their shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. And so much has changed since then. I mean, there was no real visibility into the supply chain. Whereas now there's just so much technology that's going to show you like the weather patterns and what sort of breakdowns there could be. So I think from a customer vantage point, there's so much more access to information that allows people to make better decisions. And they just didn't have that at a certain point. And it wasn't that long ago to where you were just relying on, calling your rep at CH Robinson or at, Total Quality Logistics or whatever it may be to get those updates via phone or via email.
Now we're doing end-to-end supply chain visibility.
That's right. That's what it's all about.
I see everything everywhere all the time. I'm new to the idea of like shipping as this idea of turning it from like the cost center to like a competitive advantage, or this idea of like margin and like margin leakage, or what I love to call, that I got from a broker back in the day, was profit recovery.
Ooh, I've never heard profit recovery.
Yeah, so good. So all his like a band of brothers that were all consultants, like they called themselves like the Profit Recovery Partners, or that's like what their name of their consultancy was. And it's such a good one because it's like you've already created it, and then it's all about like retaining it, or like getting it back. So yeah, I always thought that was a good one. So in shipping, like if we take that frame, then where do you, your team, and your offering fit in that frame?
Of profit recovery.
Shipping, like if you think of like shipping costs, and like how people like deal with how much they spend, and like how much maybe they're wasting, or like how they can do better.
Gotcha. A couple different ways. So, where I am now at Octane and where I was before, after CH Robinson, I moved into parcel, and that's where I was at APC Postal Logistics. So the parcel space is so much different from the freight space. And that's really where my thing is now, and where like my focus lies. So when you're talking about leakage or profit recovery, or just basically like maximizing what you have in terms of value and in terms of like holding on to your cash, one way that ShipStation helps tremendously is having access to multi-carrier strategy, right? So I think this is kind of big in the zeitgeist in general right now, but it used to be that retailers, shippers of all kinds, including 3PLs especially, would rely on maybe just a couple of carriers, or maybe just a single carrier, like a FedEx, UPS, or a USPS, or a DHL. And there was really good reason for that. If you had those guys and you were shipping quite a bit, they would give you excellent discounts, and they still do. But now there's so many other players out there that you can access and really leverage discounts from and actually get really great delivery access depending on your geographic locations. There's regional carriers that we work with, like Tusk Logistics or Viho, LSO. There's just a bunch, right? On Track is another one. If you incorporate these guys into your mix, you can just find little niches where you can shore up costs and really make the most of what you're doing. And you can still sort of hold on to those discounts because carriers are a little bit more flexible and hip to the fact that multi-carrier is the way to go.
Yeah, everyone has a different regional strength, or like the national players, they can't cover all, like they can't be strong on all routes and all regions.
Yeah, and there's so many technologies and softwares out there now that are going to be able to help you pinpoint where you might be losing delivery strength, right? So it's hard to, it used to be really hard to tell. You just might say, oh, well, we're not doing great like this week or this month. But now you can get it down to the zip code level and say, oh, we're really not strong around this part of Oklahoma or this part of Pennsylvania. And you can maybe find a regional carrier to help you fill that gap. So now you're not only talking about shoring up cost, you're improving your delivery.
All the better. How many is too many? Like, what's the ceiling of complexity there?
That really depends on how deep your tech stack is, how deep your capabilities are, and how complicated you want to make your logistics. So I would say for a smaller 3PL, for instance, you probably don't need 12 carriers, right? Like you can probably just get by with a handful. If you're a larger one, like say, take a company like Stored, STORD. These guys are like highly technologically advanced. They leverage a ton of carriers for different reasons and different routes, different locations. They can handle as much as you can throw at them. So it just totally depends on where you are on the market.
Yeah, that's awesome that like you can get to a point where you're so advanced where you're like, if they're better, we can handle another one or another one. Like you're optimizing without the limitation. I love it. That's such a change. And then to have like a more transparency there, to be able to utilize technology there, and then to be able to like ultimately have it turn into like service levels, right? Because go back to the customer and like customers being happy and return and repeat customers and being able to like maximize that and save margin at the same time, all the better.
Yeah, totally. I'll actually give you an example of this. So there's a company in California called American Giant, an apparel company. And I've been an American Giant fan for probably 5 years, and they're like one of my most coveted brands, right? And
What did they do? What's their
they do like sweatshirts and hoodies and that kind of stuff, but it's all made in America and it's all like really like high quality, thick stuff. They claim to have like the most durable, like the best hoodie in the world.
I have teenagers. All we do is wear hoodies and sweats. So
Check
we're
out
gonna
American Giant. Like free plug for American Giant. I love their stuff. I love that it's all made in America. It's awesome.
nice.
So it used to take like whatever, a week to 10 days, pretty typical. I live in Chicago for it to get from their facility to my house. I don't really care, like no big deal. I understand the logistics of it. I think they used, like a big three or big four carrier. But then just around, I think I placed this order like last week on a Saturday. I got something from them and I placed the order on a Saturday and then I actually received it on Monday morning. And this was just like a standard order. I didn't pay up for shipping or anything. So I really didn't get it. So I'm like, what is this? So then I look into it and it moved through Stored. So I was like, okay. And Stored is a customer of ours too. Like, all right, moved through Stored. What else? It was delivered by Dasher, which means it was connected through DoorDash. So I just kind of like peeled the onion back and figured out what they were doing. So Stored has facilities all around the country. They have 8 to 10 of their own main facilities, but then they have up to 500 partner facilities that they work with. So I think what's happening is American Giant and other retailers are doing this. They're actually storing product at different facilities with Stored and maybe partner facilities. And then once an order is placed, it's getting facilitated and processed through those local facilities. And then it's actually being delivered by a DoorDash driver. So now they're rivaling what Amazon is doing, but with
Totally.
apparel through
Yep.
partners that are highly technologically integrated, like Stored. And I was blown away because I was like, wow, this is
You didn't have to
crazy.
do that. I would have been happy with Tuesday or
Right.
Wednesday or whatever.
I
Yeah.
would have, right? I'm a loyal buyer, but I could see how that could make people want to buy more, right? And I think it's a really positive experience for like an end consumer.
Yeah. Yeah. And what an advantage when you think of like that's just them doing what they know how to do best. Like, does that make you more likely to be happy with them? And then you're like, wow, they're at the top of their game. This is like
Totally.
service to the max.
Yeah. I was pumped.
Yeah. I love it being in the industry where you're like, let's look at the label. Let's look who the carrier was. Let's like delve into this a little bit. It's fun with every package that shows up on your door to take a look at it.
Yeah. We nerd out on that stuff.
Yeah. So if we got multi-carrier, that's like today's reality. That's become best practice. And then like organizations' maturity and their tech stack helps like dictate how many they can handle and why they may want to go with more or less to optimize. What else is in our ShipStation? Returns. Returns is another focus, I think. And it's interesting to think of like returns of like what's going wrong there that can be fixed or like where can we do better? How would you frame the returns conversation?
Returns is an interesting thing because it just keeps going up. I think every year more and more returns are happening, right? And it's gotten to the point where companies have had to make it just a better overall experience for people. Like returns has become an experience. It used to just be something you had to service. Now it's like, no, we need to make returns something that's easy for people. Because Amazon, of course, like a lot of things, sort of like paved the way. So when you look at a company like Happy Returns, they partner with UPS. So you've probably experienced this. I think a lot of people have. If they have a return now, they can take it to, if they partner with Happy Returns, like a local UPS store, or they'll have other places like a Kohl's or not Whole Foods. I think that's Amazon. But all you have to really do is just take it in and they just scan the label
Chris, I
and you're
need it
done.
at my gym where you go to the gym and you take your returns there too. And then
That's a great idea. That's a
like
great
a
idea. It's a big
24
enough
hour
gym.
fitness does returns or, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just return anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, these companies are really highly facilitating that, and I think it's like really really important. And from a ShipStation point of view, we're able to facilitate the label print aspect of that, and then we partner with companies that actually are really really good at returns. So we focus on what we're really good at, and then we partner with any company that does things that are part of the ecosystem that aren't really in our wheelhouse as hard.
Yeah. It's funny to think of the idea of Amazon paved the way for returns or for having like a DoorDash, like outsourced drivers where people show up in their Toyota Corolla. What else do you think they're doing now that hasn't flowed through that you guys might be working on or that is on like the horizon?
That's a really good question. I think this DoorDash boom is sort of just starting, to be honest. We talked to a lot of companies, right? And I don't think I'm giving anything away that's proprietary. If you go on their website, Macy's is now partnered with DoorDash. So retailers as large as these guys are using independent drivers, to your point, to make local deliveries, from their companies. So I think that's a huge shift. Think a lot of these partner warehouses that work with companies like Stored and others, I think that's a big opportunity for EPLs and others beyond like their standard business. Now they can maybe get into this and be like an extension of some of these larger companies. I think just a lot of technological integration and API driven solutions are making just new possibilities for the field in general, and it's super exciting and it's almost hard to keep up with.
Yeah. Like that has room to saturate and like maybe it's 5% of its potential, not just one aspect of it. I could totally see that.
Yeah,
I love it. That's always good. It's like using them to see the future.
absolutely.
Yeah, and then ShipStation and like a cross-border shipping. That's something that I think I was reading a little bit about. It's funny to think of like the tariff dance of Q2 we saw in industrial real estate with like people pulling inventory forward if they had foresight into it, or all of the cautiousness of like stop, wait, or people who had not cheap plastic Chinese goods, but things that were had less margin associated with it, where like the tariff like caused people to just close their doors in some instances we saw in Southern California. It is interesting to think of like how the border changes, where goods are coming from, our relationship with Mexico and Chinese goods. And like we have seen this last like 10 years, I'm 20 years in the biz, you are same vintage as me. So where does ShipStation play in this space? And like, what do you see from clients and like the challenges that they're dealing with and how you guys help them?
Yeah, the tariff thing has been wild. There's only so much I think that you can control as someone who's in this business if you're shipping product or you're manufacturing product, right? So a lot of companies have basically just moved, if they have overseas product that they need to get to the United States, if they've moved it away from China as much as they can, and they've sort of just outsourced to another place, right? Because this is kind of what happens, I think, with tariffs is it's a game of whack-a-mole with people. They're like, oh, well, we can't do from China. We're going to pull it from Vietnam, or we're going to pull it from another country like Malaysia. And I
It's
think
like
that's just
Pharma going to Ireland for lower corporate taxes or something like that. Yeah, different version of a
exactly.
similar game.
Exactly. I have an accountant joke, like how many accountants can you fit in a PO box in Ireland, things like that. But yeah, that's kind of how it works with manufacturing and shipping and tariffs, and that's been a big thing that we've seen. It's definitely had an impact on pricing. I think pricing overall has kind of gone up across the board in a lot of different sectors. That's just like a natural response, I think, to the tariffs because ultimately that's a cost that gets passed along to consumers in the long run. That's been a big challenge. So from a like a solution standpoint on the ShipStation side, we consult a lot with how we can help, things that we advise on, et cetera. But a lot of those challenges that help from, or I'm sorry, that arise from, like an overseas, like a bonded warehouse, like those sorts of things, those supply chain challenges, a lot of those happen like before they get to the software side of things, right? So a lot of it, like we observe, we write about, we put blog posts up to kind of like give people indications as to which way the wind is blowing, things of that nature. And then we're here to help facilitate, once the product is ready to go and it's warehoused and, all that sort of thing. So we just love to be a partner any way we can.
Yeah, that's not your jam. That's already happened by that point because that's more of like thinking of like cargo and inbound than it is like parcel and outbound.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's it has been interesting to see if any of like these bonded warehouses come and go, or these like foreign trade zone designated warehouses come and go. And it's such a small segment, even in Southern California near the port. Like we don't see that change as much as I would have thought that we would have with this.
I was actually curious about that with your business, if that was something that you got into on the real estate side, if you were contracting warehouses for like bonded and things like that.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like a not a black box per se, but like it's rare, it's infrequent, it's only in really narrow lanes, and then like nobody really knows how it works a little bit because you're going to the government, as best I understand, when you go to like apply to have this, so that you can provide this. Where? When? Is it okay in any city? Is it only okay in certain counties? Is it only okay in like certain areas of certain counties? And then you really only see it crystallize in like the South Bay near the port, like kind of in one or two cities like Carson and Rancho Dominguez. And then you see some of it like in the furthest east, like our inland ports, if you will, where a lot of like the biggest of the big boxes are, like a Moreno Valley and Paris. And
Mm,
so you don't see it as often where you would expect to see it, which is like in Ontario, where like a ton of the major like distribution hub is, or like the real like meat and potatoes of Southern California for distribution centers. And so I have also found, talking with some people that are in those types of warehouses, it provides a little less flexibility in the sense of like you make a 10-year commitment on one of these large facilities, and the shifts, and now you have excess space. Well, you can't just like sublease half of your building because the market's soft to fill a hole, like because with the regulations, like they don't allow you to do that. And so I'm not sure that's like the crux of the matter, but it's interesting when I've talked with people that already have buildings like that, and then they're halfway through their lease and like it doesn't fit for them anymore. And it's kind of become a little bit of a liability in the sense of like, I can't do anything other than just try and keep growing my business. Like, I can't do what most other distribution center operators would do, which is like, let's work out a deal to share the space or to put up a wall and divvy the space into 2 or into 3. Like, you can't use some of the real estate mechanics or like tools to solve that problem. You just have to go back to like, how are we going to grow the business, or like win a new account or something to like backfill the space. That's been an interesting thing that's like a limitation. And I don't think that prevents people from doing it, but it just like between the regulations and some of the limitations, like only the people that are real niche players and are really deep in that game like end up getting those buildings, from what I understand.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, our junior guy Chris did like a 101 on that with our local association that like helps educate brokers and investors and owners on that particular topic. So I just got like a new update on some of the cliff notes on that. But like we call pretty wide and like know most of the major players in the marketplace, and it's just surprising that it's like 0.02% of the market or something like ridiculously small.
Yeah. So not really impacting you very much at all.
Good to know. And then it popped up on the radar when like the tariff talk came back, and then it like kind of quickly went back away. And so if you didn't have like a specific client, like that did not become a long-term structural shift in strategy for people.
Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah. Cool. What else? 3PLs. Those are customers for you. How much of your customer base would you say are 3PLs?
Boy, that's a hard question to answer. 3PLs are a huge part of our business simply because so many brands over the years brands and customers have been outsourcing to 3PLs. I think when it comes to running a business in this country, a lot of folks don't necessarily want to deal with the distribution, the shipping, the physical aspect of it. And there's so many qualified operators out there and options that, hey, why don't I go this route? These guys are way better at it than I would be, and it's not really something that I want to handle, right? So I don't really know the exact percentage, but it's something that I specialize in personally on our team at ShipStation and ShipStation Enterprise. I love working with 3PLs. It started for me when I was at APC, simply because if you go after as a salesperson, like individual retailers, that's great, and you can really land some big ones. But if you go after a 3PL, maybe you can score 5 or 6 brands in one account, right?
Yeah.
That was my thinking. And I also like working with 3PLs because they really are on top of the shipping game. They know exactly what they're doing. They're very serious about it. They're typically just like really salt of the earth people. And as things have progressed over the last like 5-6 years, like so many new people have come into the business, and it's gotten so much more like technologically advanced too. At this stage with like Octane, the connections and integrations that are happening are just like sort of mind blowing. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it. It's great. And I kind of referenced this before we hopped on and started recording, but I want to shout out this organization that we're a part of at Octane called IWLA, the International Warehouse and Logistics Association. I would imagine that you're familiar. A lot of your listeners are familiar with these guys. Since we've joined, they've just been an awesome partner for Octane. And we just absolutely love working with them. I'm actually going to be out your way in 2 weeks. I'm going to tour the Port of Long Beach and
Nice.
do some classroom training. So just kind of do a little remedial stuff around 3PL. I just want to get closer to it and just continue to do some continuous learning around everything, just aspects of it I haven't really touched yet, like HR and sort of more of the like daily, day-to-day, like as if you're an operator and that sort of thing.
I love it. They almost sucked me in last year to one of theirs was like how to start a 3PL, or it was like scaling like your small 3PL, or like finding scale growing like for the startups. And
Yeah.
kind of the same vein. And it was like, oh, dude, that's perfect. Because there's plenty of people that could use the 101 that are not all like maybe the partners of a lot of 3PLs would do them a service to do a lot of the 101 type of class that like startups would be going through with them. So that was one that I was like, that's a great idea. And I have my list of conferences and stuff to go to, and that one's on there for sure. It's always funny with some of the associations to figure out like what their niche is and where their strengths are. So if it's on like the worker in the warehouse, or if it's on like this specific segment of the business, or if it's more like a regulation, I've found there's quite a few, but that one keeps popping up on the list as being one of the best of the best.
As far as I know, it's the only association in the United States that's solely focused on third-party logistics companies.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a one in SoCal, DMA. I think it's Distribution Managers Association. Hopefully, I'm not like butchering that one. That's another one we've looked into that I've seen that's like a SoCal specific. I'm not sure if it's national in scope, but another one that's always worth looking into.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, back in the 3PL talk, mind-blowing integrations. How could I not ask more about that? Tell us more. What are some of the ones that are maybe a leading edge that you have found impactful?
Yeah, so this kind of like ties into the multi-carrier strategy when we're working with 3PLs, and this is something that I really kind of get into when I'm talking to companies like this. Is maybe they're using a homegrown BMS system. Maybe it's something that they've bought. So we have a product called ShipStation API that I was kind of alluding to before. There's other ways that we can do things with like a 3PL add-on feature that we have through our user interface product. But either way, we can connect to their WMS system and then give them access to all of our carriers, right? So all the regionals that we were talking about earlier, the nationals, and then they'll have access to our discounted rates through those carriers. And then they can also bring their own accounts to that API connection as well. So they can actually shop their rates against our rates, and they can choose whatever they want. We're fairly agnostic to that, but it just opens up a whole world of possibility and connection for them. And there's different integration paths depending on what sort of system that they're using. I mean, whoever you're talking to, they're not going to be using the same as like the company down the street, right? The WMS and ERP landscape in this country, in this, I guess, in this world really is just like so vast. It's wild. There's a ton of them that you can choose from. A lot of companies choose to build their own. So I just find it fascinating when I get into conversations with the technology folks, the operations leaders, how they're actually doing these things, how they're carving up parcel versus their full truckload versus their LTL, and how we can work together to sort of bring it all together.
Yeah, that's great perspective. It's funny that not that no two do it the same, but like the amount of variety and the amount of like iterations and maturity out there is like so vast that like with each person you got to really sit down and figure out like what they have going on to figure out like how it would work, much less have a product that's like all built out that can integrate cleanly.
Yeah, it's really cool. And there's just so many different things that you can do with the technology, right? It's not just really carrier connections. Um, there's also webhooks, right, that kind of connect out and they can share information internally back, tracking information. So you can run reports internally to see what carriers are actually like running on SLAs, which carriers are sort of giving you problems, which zones are giving you problems. And then, of course, there's like external that are reaching tracking information out to your customers and doing some of those same things, address validation, all of the pieces that put the puzzle together for you and make an efficient shipping operation, and sort of solve a lot of the puzzle pieces and mysteries and pain points for a shipper.
Yeah. Speaking of pain points, selling software. What's that's got to be fun. I sell buildings. I
Yeah.
can only imagine like how you work a territory or decide like what's noteworthy or who may have the type of pain that you guys can help solve, or like who's ready for the evolution that you can help provide. Like, how do you address the market, or how do you build like a pipeline? Not that we have to belabor sales, but we are all selling to some degree, and you guys are very successful. So I thought it would be good to spend 2 minutes on what that's like in yours.
Yeah. No, that's an awesome question. So the way that the organization that I'm part of is pretty small. So ShipStation in and of itself is more like a mid-market operation, but we are part of a small team of enterprise, and we focus on 3PL. We focus on marketplaces. So if you look at like Meta slash like Facebook, GoDaddy, Intuit, the Real companies like that, they all use ShipStation API, that product that I was talking about, to manage their transactions. So that's another ICP of ours. We work with some retailers as well. Those are kind of like big focuses of ours, also technology companies. So we span four of us. I'm in the Midwest. We have someone in Los Angeles in your area. We have someone in New York, and then we have someone who works the South. And we're handling a lot of inbound because we're obviously like known in the market, but we're also reaching out to and trying to figure out the type of companies that we think could use our products. And the reason I like 3PL is because I know that every 3PL is shipping. I know they're using the same carriers that we use, maybe not all of them, but they're at least using the big four or a mix of the big four. And they have some sort of tech stack, most likely, if they're like to a certain degree. So a lot of them build out their own, some of them buy, and they get into the situation where it's build versus buy. Do we continue to, build our own tech stack, or do we outsource to a company like ShipStation and allow their products to come into our field and our engineers can relax? So this is sort of the issue with build versus buy, right? Like when you have a carrier integration like, say, UPS or FedEx, there's work to do. Like you build the API, it's not over. You have to there's ongoing maintenance that happens. They update things on their side, then you have to update things on your side. If you use, an operation like ours, like ShipStation API, it's one integration, and then we take care of all that maintenance on our side. You don't really have to worry about as much ongoing maintenance as you would if you do the direct integration. So it's less dev work, it's less time. They can focus on whatever sort of strategic initiatives that you have at your company instead of worried about that. So it's a cost benefit analysis that every company has to do if they're looking at their tech stack that way. So that's sort of how we look at it. And like I said, 3PLs are big marketplaces and some retailers as well.
Yeah, we use Salesforce, and it was one of those same ones where you're like, they continue to reinvest in it. They take care of all of like the app exchange and the vendors and the partners, and like you don't deal with any of that, and you just trust that like they're pretty dialed in, and like you can now focus on what you do best, and where you can like multiply your top line. And yeah, I love it. That's great. I love that you guys can be that for them and help them grow. Last one, as we come up on our time, would be the hot take of software and logistics coming together. You think there will be more like acquisitions and activity, and that's something that like we'll see more of as companies find that like, hey, if we can acquire that, then we don't like that can be our superpower? Or is that something that like those two never shall meet, and like they can stay focused on what they do best?
Boy, that's a great question. I think that those things will continue to be in the zeitgeist for sure. I think there will continue to be conversations like that being had, because there are things like that happening like as we speak. There's plenty of room for that. I think there's companies that want to do everything. One thing that we run into is we're very, very strong in parcel. We have LTL connections, but our truckload isn't quite as robust. We don't really have like that sort of feature. So if you run into a 3PL who wants you to do everything, a lot of people will want like a single source software. We don't have the perfect answer for truckload. So they're going to need a TMS, and then they're going to need our platform, for instance. So, a nice answer to that would kind of be something like what you're alluding to, right? If there was a combination of our software and then like a logistics company that also had a TMS in-house, and then boom, you got the full stack all the way across the board, and we can handle everything. So to your point, I think you'll probably continue to see that, especially as logistics companies become more technologically enabled. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I was less cognizant about. And then I was talking with Nikhil at Benjamin Gordon, it's BGSA, and they do M&A for like the transportation and logistics industry. And then a lot of what the space that they're in is on like a lot of the tech side is where they see like a lot of growth and opportunity. So it is interesting to connect the dots there and see like what does that change, or like does that lead to more deal flow for companies like yourself, or will that cause people to need more buildings or less buildings on my side of the ledger? So it's always fun to look at like the different like legs of the stool and like how they affect one another.
Yeah, I'm not really sure on the building side, but I can say, because that's not exactly my wheelhouse, but certainly Over the last couple of years, we've just seen a ton of innovation on the technology side in logistics, just a ton.
Yeah. Any last takes on anything you're pumped on for the year? As a new year, new you, new conferences, new products, new things happening in the world.
Yeah, I mean, we're as a team headed out to quite a few shows. We're going to be at Manifest in Las Vegas. We're going to do NRF, National Retail Federation here in New York. I'm actually leaving tomorrow for that.
Nice.
We are going to IWLA's event in San Antonio, their main event at the end of March. Boy, there's more. The
Dude,
Q1
you
is
got the road
super
show
busy.
going. You're heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Q1 is super busy. Yeah, for sure. So I'm excited about all of that. I love connecting with people at shows. I think it's just a great way to network and meet like-minded folks. In terms of like strategy this year, there's some big things happening with ShipStation. I can't talk about everything, but definitely like keep your eyes peeled for that. And yeah, super excited for the year. I think it's going to be a great year for us. I think it's going to be a good year in general for logistics and transportation. Hopefully, we see a little bit more control around tariffs. It would be nice to get some consistency. I think a lot of business leaders are looking for more guidance that way. And if we can have some more assurance, there'll be a lot more positive momentum in terms of like growth and investment and that sort of thing.
You can feel confident making bigger bets.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Chris. That's been great. That was awesome to delve into a lot of things with you and get to know you better. And there's a chance I'll see you at one of those functions. I haven't figured out which one yet, but if I were guessing today, I would guess San Antonio.
All right. Yeah. End of March. Be great to see you there.
Yeah, I did do Manifest last year and I loved every minute of it. It was really good. It was super solid.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it's great to meet you as well. Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, cool. I'll catch you around.
All right.
Yep.
See
Bye-bye.
ya.